government is not doing the basic job in educating the public on this crisis.
We're coming out the gate swinging, so I'm ready. Here we go. So let's back it up to the China. What is your connection with China and what's happening right now? What are some of the details of the data that you know on that?
So to be clear, I was the head of the Special Operations Division, so I sat in the middle of operations involving 30 agencies, 3 countries, NYPD, DOD, intelligence community. Worked closely with Admiral McCraven from Special Operations Command. Worked closely with Southern Command Leader James Stavridis, Admiral Stavridis. So we've been looking at these issues for many years. We worked on Project Cassandra, which is the DEA's infiltration into Hezbollah's global money laundering, drug trafficking network. But in regards to the Chinese, it's very interesting. And I lived this, and I watching it evolve is very scary. But basically, the Chinese criminals have had a relationship with the Mexican cartels for over 30 years. They have been providing precursor chemicals to produce methamphetamine for a very long time. And what happened was back in 2007, it was an eye-opener to me because we saw a $207 million U.S. currency seizure in a house in Mexico City, and it came from a Chinese chemical broker. We had never seen this kind of cash seizure. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's the largest cash seizure in the history of the world on a drug case, from what I know. But anyway, in around 2008, 2009, we started seeing the beginning of this Chinese chemical bombing of America with synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic cathinones, known as K2, spice, and bath salts on the streets of America. We started seeing increases in emergency room admissions. We saw like the Night of the Living Dead scenes where people were dropping like zombies, smoking this stuff. They thought it was synthetic marijuana. But so that was going on around 08, 09. Then in 2012, we started seeing, if you look at these little glassine bags, they were loaded up with white heroin all over the country. But all of a sudden, we started seeing people dying from illicit fentanyl, which we had never seen really on the streets too much, right? So it was all coming out of the Chinese labs. They were making this stuff. They were sending it on the internet. People in America were buying it, direct sales to America. Then they started providing the cartels with this fentanyl. Then they started selling them mass amounts of precursor chemicals to make this poison. Then they started getting involved with all the money laundering services for the cartels. Then they started showing them how to make these pills. And they started sending the Chinese down to Mexico. And then it became fake pill madness in America. Tsunami of pills started in the 2015, 2016. So the cartels started taking this over. But it's this evolving crisis. But Vince, one thing I want your audience to know is that it's now beyond fentanyl. What we have now is xylazine, which is horse tranquilizer that's rotting people down to the flesh in the bones of them, in their bones, right? Because it's causing necrosis. Xylazine is a horse tranquilizer, not made for human consumption. Unfortunately, the Chinese who want to destroy this country have recognized, let's get it out to Americans. They like drugs, they need drugs, so we'll add it to our arsenal of poisoning substances. But now, Vince, with the nitazines, the edonitazines, the metanitazines, isonitazines, these are the new, more powerful, 20 times more powerful than fentanyl. That's what's showing up in the autopsy reports today. So make no mistake, this is an ongoing attack. We are at war. It's a chemical substance. And shame on anyone in America who's not paying attention to this. Chris Wray is telling everyone in America that China is our biggest national security threat. He's the FBI director. So what the hell are we doing? Why are we not connecting the dots? And why are we not educating America on this threat?
You're in charge. You said you were in the rooms with some of the biggest agencies across the nation. They know the same information you do. How come right now, currently, there's nothing that is being done to stop this? I'm confused. If higher people in the government understand this, they know this. It's kind of happening in front of our faces. Why is there no actions being taken?
Okay, Vince, that's a great question, but I'm going to give it to you in a New York answer. If I had the brains to define how it's possible that our own government is facilitating the largest death and destruction operation ever by a foreign adversary. I wish I can explain it. I cannot explain it. I don't have the mental capacity to understand it. I'm very devastated. That's why for the last 7 years, I've been making collages of dead kids, working with the families, going on national news, going to Congress, showing all these dead kids, doing whatever I can to spread awareness to save lives. Unfortunately, they're not even doing the basic thing, Vince. Like, why are they not educating our young kids about this new poison that's in these pills? The kids today are facing increased anxiety, increased depression. They're going to drugs for help. Now, the kids, they don't know any better. They see mommy and daddy on Xanax, which is a very good drug if you're getting it from a pharmacy and from your doctor. But when you're buying it on the streets, the illicit drug supply is tainted with poison. So what's happening is kids are being deceived to death. When we were kids, Vince, right, we made mistakes, but we didn't die from mistakes, thank God, right? The kids today are dying from mistakes. A lot of these kids are first-time drug users. They're feeling a lot of anxiety. So I can't answer your question, but the American public should be asking their leadership, what the hell's going on? Now, law enforcement, let me make it clear. Even though morale is at rock bottom across the board in law enforcement because they don't have the support that they need, they're still fighting, they're still saving lives, they're still doing what they need to do, but they need help from the White House. They need the larger U.S. government apparatus to start working together to decimate the cartels. But Vince, how the hell are you going to do that when we're not even shutting down the border? We're inviting these unknown people from around the world. We have 1.8 million known gotaways already. Who the hell are these people in our country, right? So how are we going to do, how are we going to solve this if we're not even doing the basic stuff?